As a patient, there is some maintenance required by you to keep track of your prosthesis. It does have moving parts in it, especially if you have a lock. In this case, our CD103 AirLock. During the day, you're outside, you're mowing your lawn, you're in sand or dirty, dusty areas. Debris can get inside of your lock and cause you to have misengagement with your liner to where you're not getting all the way in your lock as you should. So a few things you can do on your own, which I would recommend checking your prosthesis after every time you're in the water, you're in a high, dusty, dirty environment. If you haven't done it for, say, a month, it would be good just to give it a quick check. When your leg is off, your liner's off, visually inspect your button. I mean, it's pretty obvious if it's working correctly. It's running nice and smooth. You want to look down inside your prosthesis, and having a flashlight comes in really handy. And look inside to make sure it's nice and clean in there and you don't have a lot of debris, because debris can build up at the bottom of that chamber, which doesn't allow you to get your full pin engagement. And like I said, being in environments that are dusty and dirty, sandy, debris can and will get in there. So you want to clean them after you do those sort of things. And if you don't get out and do that, at least once a month, visually inspect your prosthesis. So checking this lock, one of the easiest ways to clean this out is with compressed air. Well, we all don't have air compressors sitting around our house, so I would recommend getting a can of compressed air. This works really well for cleaning out the chamber of your lock. So take your compressed air, aim it down into your lock, keep your face turned away because you don't want debris to blow back in your eyes. Run your air and get that in there as close as you can, kind of lining it up, and then look away. Give that some really good blasts. And you look back in there to see how it looks, because you notice some stuff in there, and you still see a little crud down on the bottom of it. Take some type of a tool, a sharp pick, and go into your lock and just kind of push it around and move it and loosen it up. It doesn't take a lot of pressure, just run it in there and loosen that debris up. Then take your air blaster, aim it at it, look away, spray it in there, take a peek back in there again until you get it all nice and cleaned out. There, that looks much better. Okay, let's look at the outside here. If that's a little dusty or dirty around where you do your release button, take your air, give it a few blasts, clean that debris out, check it, make sure it's working good. Look back inside. Yep, it's working good. One of the visual inspections you can do if you think you're having an issue with your lock with engagement, and it's kind of hard to see, but if you can get enough light in there and you can see in there, you can see the little tooth inside the hole. This is like a little visual inspection if you think you're having trouble with your lock holding onto your pin. As you look down the lock chamber, you can see the little tooth over toward the center of the hole, and you push on the button as you look in there and make sure it's moving back and forth correctly. And make sure you can see that tooth in there. If you think you have an issue with your leg at all and you're not seeing that little scallop, are you seeing that? If you're not seeing that little scallop tooth in there moving back and forth correctly, or it looks like there's hardly any of it showing in that hole, get an appointment as quick as you can and get into your prosthetist and have them check your lock out for you. All right, so we've blown our lock out. We've looked inside for our quick little visual check. And we can see where tooth is in there. Yep, it's working good. So let's check our liner. Take a look at our pin. So when we look at our pin, we're looking to see if all the teeth are on it. None of them are chipped or cracked or missing. This shows a little bit of wear. It's getting kind of smooth on the edges, but there's no breakage on any of it. So we take our liner, and if you can do this, run it into your lock, push it all the way in, make sure it's engaging correctly, push your button, disengage it, push your liner in. Yep, it's freely coming out. Everything's in good shape. When you go in for your appointment and visit, ask your prosthetist, did you check my lock? Make sure it's cleaned out when they get done with your appointment, because you want to have this working as freely and smoothly as you can to stop from premature wear and stop from keeping you fully engaging into your lock. Since we're looking at our lock and cleaning up our prosthesis, warm water on a rag, mild detergent, very mild detergent. You can wipe the inside of your socket out and clean it, wipe off the face of the lock, kind of run your rag or your paper towel in your lock, just on the face of it, make sure it stays nice and clean. Alcohol works really, really well for cleaning a prosthesis, but make sure it won't harm you. You may want to wear rubber gloves and just wipe that out. Okay, after we wipe it off, we want to check our lock chamber again to make sure we didn't knock anything down in there, because we're wiping off all the area of it and the face of the lock, and sometimes debris can be on the sides of it. There, this is what we got out of that leg. So let's check our lock again. Yep, everything looks like it's good. Now we want to let this dry completely before we don it, because you can still see there's a little bit of moisture from the alcohol water. As soon as this dries completely, you're ready to rock and roll, to wear it. Since we're looking at our pin to make sure that everything is correct with all of our teeth and looking for wear, give it a little test, see if it's loose. It looks good. It's not loose, it's not turning. If this is turning, you get a hold of your prosthesis as soon as possible. If you're capable, you can take a 7/16 wrench and put on here, and there's two little flats, and you can tighten that up. But we recommend you go in and see your professional to have any adjustments done on your leg. So make sure that that thing is on there nice and tight. If that's loose, you need to go see your practitioner and make sure that they correctly lock tight and put this back onto your liner. As a patient, and you're inspecting your leg, and you see debris down in there, and you're unable to get it out. You don't have a can of compressed air, but you may happen to have something like a dental pick. You could go in there and loosen it up and remove it, turn your leg up, and keep tapping on it till you get that crud out. If you're seeing debris in your socket, down in your lock, and you can't get it out, call your prosthetist. Get back into your shop, have them service your lock and clean it. If you've been in salt water, lake water, maybe you fall in a ditch, dirty water of any kind, when you get back home, take your leg off, check your lock for mud and sand, flush it out with water really, really thoroughly, move the release button back and forth while the water's in it, dry it off with a towel, turn that thing upside down, let it completely dry before you re-don it again. Washing this out with water will not hurt the lock. In fact, it's really a great thing to do by cleaning it this way. If you don't have the compressed air, that may be another option, is taking it to your kitchen sink and using your little spray nozzle that's on most kitchen sinks and aiming it down in there and spraying it and working your button a little bit. But make sure that it's completely dry before you put it back on. But rinsing your lock out after salt water is highly, highly recommended. It's a must. Salt water, swimming pool water, all have chemical reactions to the springs that are inside your lock. So you want to flush that out as thoroughly as you can and then let it dry. How would I describe the lock? Because it is plastic, it's almost zero tolerance or much less prone for any kind of erosion. The componentries are matching materials, so they wear together without wearing one out faster than the other. This lock will handle a lot of abuse, and what I mean by abuse is dirt and sand and grit before it completely wears it out. But the better you service it, the cleaner you keep it, the longer this lock will last. It's easy to maintain from a technician or practitioner standpoint because they can remove your components and replace them, and your lock is just like new again because you have new locking plate, new release button, so it's going to work just like it was new. The more harsher the environment is that you work in, and I mean harsh by sandy, gritty, dusty, dirt, the more you want to keep an eye on your lock and keep it serviced and keep that debris blown out. Cement layer would be probably one of the worst because of the alkaline in cement. It's very harsh on the componentry. They use a lot of sand. Material will go down into your leg, as you all well know, of wearing one. Going out to the beach for the day or playing in the sand dunes or anything that's an outside activity in a dusty, dirty environment, you need to check your limb, check your lock for debris that's down inside of it. And that's why I think having a compressed air would be a fantastic thing to have, because when you get home at night and you know you've been in that kind of environment, you can blow your lock out. If you don't have that, I'd take it over to the sink and I'd rinse it with water thoroughly while compressing your disengaging button here to make sure that you're getting those rails cleaned and you're getting everything moving freely and get all the sand and debris out of it you can. It will prolong the life of your lock and your pins, and you will be in a much safer limb because now you won't have issues during the day wearing it and having crud in the bottom. And instead of engaging completely in your lock, you're only going in part way, which is unsafe for you, and it's also uncomfortable because you're not completely in your socket and sure of what you have on your limb. The more you're in those environments, the more maintenance you're going to have. It is a moving mechanical part, and it does have wear points. So, it's good for you to inspect it and check it, just for your own safety. And maybe you'll notice something before you have a breakage or a failure, and you can get into your office, whoever your practitioner, and have them service it and replace the components that need replaced.